going on YouTube? It is 12:45 at night and this is when I'm getting around to making a video, but I promised myself I would and I gotta stay consistent. So today's video topic, why you should renovate your property yourself, and more specifically your first property. So when it comes time to renovating a property, there's a couple reasons that you're going to do that. The biggest one is because you want to change something that is currently not your ideal situation. So maybe the floors are really old, the paint is chipping, or it's not the color that you wanted. And basically what you're doing by renovating something is increasing the value of that property and increasing the enjoyment behind it. So what you can do is simple things like paint, flooring, maybe some plumbing. You don't really want to get into stuff like electrical or really big foundation work, things like that. You probably don't even want to buy anything like that or buy a house with something of that magnitude as a problem. When you get your first house, you're probably going to be looking for something that's mainly cosmetic work. You don't want to buy something that needs a new foundation or something that needs major work like replacing all of the wiring if you're planning on doing it yourself. For something like that, definitely you want to get a contractor or somebody who's licensed or whatever it takes in your province or state. And what I'm talking about today is renovations that are things like painting the walls, putting new trim on, new doors, handles, light fixtures, plumbing, faucets, what else? Flooring, painting the walls, just sprucing the place up. And so most of the time you're renovating a property so you can improve the efficiency behind it. Maybe you're removing a wall, hopefully it's non-bearing, load-bearing. And the reason that I say you want to do it yourself first is because you're going to learn what it costs and how much time it takes, where to get the materials, what level of finishes to get, all that kind of stuff. So I've written down a couple notes. The first one I have is learning how to do things yourself. So simple things like laying flooring, how the grooves interlock together, and piecing them out so that there's staggered joints and everything like that. Or when you're about to embark on a project like laying floor, for example, what I did was I went online, looked at YouTube videos, read articles online, talked to people that I knew, and then I went at it. Doing the renovations yourself, you're going to start to understand how long it takes to do something. So if you have no idea how long it takes to lay flooring, you'll find out. And when you do it your first time, it's going to be challenging and more difficult, but every time that you lay the next board, it gets easier and easier. You get your rhythm going, and then pretty soon you're done the flooring. You move on to your next project. So if that's painting the walls, you make sure that you buy the right rollers, the right brushes, everything like that. One lesson that I learned was don't buy the cheap stuff at Dollarama. Shout out to my uncle for that. My dad would buy cheap stuff at Dollarama, and we do, simple home projects like that, so it made sense. But when you're going through an entire house and your roller doesn't hold nearly as much paint as it needs to spread on the wall because it's a cheap Dollarama one, then it makes sense to buy the $15 roller at Home Depot or something like that. So I wanted to save money where I could, and I didn't understand the value of spending $15 as opposed to $1. But once I did buy that more expensive roller, it made a lot of sense, it made the job easier, it was literally worth the extra money. Another point is to understand the cost of materials. So when you need to estimate your renovation costs in your next deal or your next property investment, if you kind of have an idea of what flooring costs, you can ballpark low-end flooring, high-end flooring, vinyl, laminate, whatever the case may be, real hardwood. And as you look through flyers or in store, you're going to figure out what things start to cost, because there's so many things in the house that you could probably replace, you have no idea. It's shopping in a whole other type of store that you've probably never spent a good amount of time in. There's also a sense of pride in having done the work yourself, so now I can sit back in my house and look at pretty much anything and understand that I've had some sort of impact. When you look at your house and you're done, you're going to have a sense of pride of the work that you've done. You know that the floor was laid by you, you painted the walls, you put all the trim on, all the door handles, and you'll kind of remember the struggles that you went through with each thing. So if putting a door handle on was frustrating, or putting trim on or painting was annoying, then you'll have passed that, you'll overcome it, and you can look back and think of all the little things that you did day in and day out that came together all for your final project to make everything look nice. The other benefit to doing the renovations yourself is that you are going to start to understand when a contractor quotes you on your next deals and your next work projects, you're going to have an idea of how much things should cost, how long it should take, and if they're trying to rip you off. Because if you have no idea what it should cost, you'll just be shooting blanks and wondering, okay, well I got a quote for $15,000, I guess that's how much it costs. Well, if you did it for $5,000 yourself, and there should be $5,000 in labor, then maybe it's a $10,000 job, not $15,000, and right there you've saved yourself $5,000. So realistically, your first deal, it makes sense to renovate it yourself because you're going to understand the cost of materials, how long it takes, and you're only going to do that in the first project, maybe the second, stuff like that, where you're trying to save money. But in the future projects, on your future projects, you'll have an idea of how much things should cost, and you're not going to be doing the work yourself. So basically, you're slowing down at the beginning, doing the work yourself, struggling through how to do every single task in a house, and there's a lot. But then in the future, you're going to have a better picture of what it takes to get done, and you can estimate timelines for renos, you can estimate budgets. It's going to give you a leg up on your next deals. The other thing that's kind of a bonus is that if you're doing the work yourself, you're probably going to have people that are more likely to want to help you or be willing to help you at a low cost or no cost. So if you were outsourcing the work entirely, what you'd be looking at is paying somebody their full labor rate and paying for all the materials and everything like that. But if you're in the house, you're working on it, you're laying floor. If someone's laid flooring before and they know how to do it, maybe they can come help you out for an hour when you start, give you some pointers, and then you're on your way, you do it yourself, and they can come back and check up. But if you just expected somebody to do it for you and not pay them, well, you're dreaming. That's not going to happen. So in addition to all the other pros, what you're going to find is the best deals on all of your materials too. So as basically the person doing the work, you're going to be looking for all of the materials that you need, flooring, paint, whatever. If you wait for a sale to find paint and you get $10 off a can, and you need 100 cans in your house, or 10 cans in your house, you'll save $100. So if you can save the $100, that's $100 in your pocket. Now, don't cheap out, get decent material, but make sure you understand, is this a flip? Am I putting in the best materials so that I can get the highest resale value? Or is it a rental and you need simple finishes so that you're cash flowing and making decent money every month? So those are some of the reasons that I recommend doing it yourself on your first deal. They were learning how much things cost, learning how long things take, setting yourself up for the future, understanding what it should cost from a contractor when they price you out materials and labor. You'll be able to find the best deals at Home Depot or Lowe's or at whatever store you use because you're going to be looking for those materials and saving yourself the money. If you use a contractor on your first deal, they're just going to buy the material at whatever the cost is because it's irrelevant to them. Some of the other pointers for why it makes sense to do it yourself is because you're going to have a sense of pride once you're done that project, and others are probably more willing to help you as opposed to if you just ask them to do it for you, which is not very realistic. So that's the video. It's probably pretty rough. It is 1 a.m., but I just got to put these videos out because I was you at one point, and I had no idea what I was doing, but I went on YouTube, I found people who were doing stuff that I do now, and I thought if I did that at some point, looking to others for inspiration or for guidance or whatever, I can give back, put this on the internet, and share my tips and advice. By no means am I an expert, but I've been there, I've done it, and I've learned as much as I could through the internet. But once you've done your research, just get to it, take action.